US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, currently on a two-day visit to India, inspected the Guard of Honor at the Ministry of Defense in New Delhi, held talks with Indian Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, which are currently underway. Austin's New Delhi visit, it is focused on advancing India-US new defense innovation on industrial cooperation initiatives. Austin earlier participated at the Shangri-La summit in Singapore before visiting New Delhi. This is his second visit to India, the last one being in March 2021. A Chinese warship came within 150 yards of a US destroyer in the Taiwan Strait in an unsafe manner, according to the US military officials. US and Canadian navies on Saturday were conducting a joint exercise in the Taiwan Strait. That is when the Chinese ship cut in front of the US guided missile destroyer Shangri-la, forcing it to slow down to avoid a collision. China's military rebuked the United States and Canada for deliberately provoking risk by engaging in joint drills. Russia's Pacific Fleet forces have started operational exercises in the waters of the Sea of Japan and the Sea of Okhotsk that will last until the 20th of June. This according to the Russian Defense Ministry. The ministry said that over 60 warships and support vessels, about 35 naval aviation aircraft, coastal troops and over 11,000 military personnel were involved in the exercise. Russian Defense Ministry said that Russian forces have thwarted a major Ukrainian offensive in the Donetsk region and killed hundreds of pro-Kiev troops. In a statement, the ministry said Ukraine had launched the attack on Sunday using 6 mechanized and 2 tank battalions. No immediate comment from Ukraine. It remains unclear whether the reported attack represented the start of a long-expected Ukrainian counter-offensive to recapture some of the territory taken by Russian forces. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that Russia was using a network of suppliers to evade international sanctions designed to prevent it from making missiles and other weapons. Zelensky said unnamed countries and companies were helping Russia acquire technology, the emphasis being on producing missiles. He added that he is well aware of Russia's efforts to evade sanctions and will seek to ensure that there are no products of free world in Russian missiles. India's Railway Board has recommended that the investigation into Friday's train crash in which at least 275 people died and more than 1,000 injured to be handed over to the Central Bureau of Investigation. Rescue workers completed operations on Sunday after the crash, while trains are now back on track off the crash site. Though initial reports blamed signal failure, Indian Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw said that for future inquiry, a recommendation has been made by the Railway Board to hand over this case to the Federal Investigative Agency. Hong Kong police detained more than a dozen people, including several prominent pro-democracy figures, attempting to commemorate the 34th anniversary of the Tiananmen crackdown. For years, tens of thousands of Hong Kongers would converge on the city's Victoria Park in memory of the events of the 4th of June 1989 and take part in candlelight vigils. But since Beijing's imposition of the national security law on Hong Kong in 2020 to quell dissent, the annual vigil was banned and the organizers were charged under the law. Hundreds of people on Sunday gathered in Taipei to commemorate the 34th anniversary of the 1989 Tiananmen Square crackdown. Activists prepared a memorial at Taipei's Liberty Square one of Taiwan's most famous landmarks with flowers, candlelight vigil and a pillar of shame statue. A food carnival and lion dance also took place, including a candlelight display inside Hong Kong's U.S. consulate. U.S. officials scrambled fighter jets to chase a light aircraft that violated airspace in Washington, D.C. area and later crashed into mountainous terrain in southwest Virginia. The jet fighters prompted a sonic boom over the U.S. Capitol, causing alarm among people in Washington area. U.S. officials have said the jet fighters did not cause the crash, while it has also been reported that the plane was believed to be on autopilot and did not respond to authorities. In a surprising move, Saudi Arabia, the prominent member of the OPEC Plus, has taken decisive action to address the sliding crude prices. To stabilize the oil market, the kingdom plans to slash its oil supply by a significant 1 million barrels a day in July. This reduction will bring Saudi Arabia's production to its lowest level in several years. The decision comes at a time when crude prices face downward pressure due to a softer economic outlook, particularly in China. Saudi Energy Minister has expressed a strong commitment to restoring stability to the market and is willing to shoulder the burden of the production cuts. Israelis laid to rest a female soldier who was shot dead by an Egyptian security personnel on Saturday. 19-year-old Leah Ben Noon was one of the 3 soldiers killed on Saturday by a member of the Egyptian security services. This is a rare border incident which Israel is treating as a terrorist attack. Egypt says it is working with Israel to investigate the incident. The leader of the main Polish opposition grouping told his supporters on Sunday that he vows to win elections later this year to mend the damage. He said Poland's ruling party had caused. Hundreds of thousands of opposition supporters joined the march in Warsaw on the 34th anniversary of Poland's first democratic elections in 1989, while thousands more marched in other cities and towns. Donald Tusk, a former Prime Minister and ex-head of the European Council, condemned government for stepping daily on citizens' rights and freedoms. A gold mine collapsed after flooding in southern Venezuela, killing at least 12 miners. Another 112 people survived the mine collapse. According to the authorities, the mine was flooded on Wednesday due to heavy rain, but rescue workers could not finish recovery efforts before Saturday. At least 5 people died, another 8 injured on Sunday when 3 men opened fire inside a house in Guayaquil, one of the city's hardest hit by crime and drug trafficking in Ecuador. The authorities have not specified the reason for the new attack here. However, the city, mired in the violence of drug gangs, has become the scene of massacres between January and May in Guayaquil. In a couple of more cities here, there were more than 1,000 murders as per the police. Authorities in Senegal have blamed subversive elements for violent protests in the capital. Senegalese police said that the number of people killed in days of clashes between police and the supporters of the opposition leader, Ousmane Sonko, has now risen to 16, with a total of 500 arrested. The clashes first broke out on Thursday after the leader was convicted of corrupting youth but acquitted on charges of raping a woman who worked at a massage parlor and making death threats against her. Sonko, who did not attend his trial in capital, was sentenced to 2 years in prison.
round elections. But President Macky Sall's
Dozens of people gathered along the banks of Indian River Yamuna and formed a human chain to spread awareness about saving the river from toxic foam. The volunteers cleaned the banks of the river and also performed various rituals to mark the initiative on the eve of World Environment Day. From its source among Himalayan peaks, the river flows 1,376 kilometers through a clutch of northern states to join the river Ganges in the city of Allahabad. 'Firefighters in the Canadian province of British Columbia performed a planned ignition to contain the wildfire that has burned through an estimated 241,214 hectares in the region. As per the officials, the planned ignition extended over 30 kilometers and burnt approximately 10,000 hectares to limit the spread of the original fire further south. As of Sunday, there were about 67 active fires in British Columbia, 11 that began in the past 24 hours. Mangroves are drowning tourists to Indonesia as the archipelago tries to replant and conserve carbon-rich coastal areas that have been decimated by human activity. Mangroves in Indonesia have dwindled to about 4.1 million hectares as urban development replaced what is a natural defense against rising sea levels and saltwater intrusion. Indonesia hopes that alongside state efforts, ecotourism involving people exploring, planting and caring for the forests will help them understand the importance as carbon stores in biodiversity hotspots. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.